Henry Stern, president of New York Civic, and a retired Parks employee. I just wanted to think that it's been 44 years since I was first appointed to the Parks Department by Mayor Lindsay and Commissioner Tom Holding as its executive director. And in that intervening time, the formalities have increased enormously. That's one thing that's grown faster than the park system. And I hope you can work your way through it. I've been a member of the board of the Hudson River Park Trust for over 20 years under 3 mayors. I was only out during the Dinkins years. But we worked, oh, the lady looks like my mother. And I can tell you that the Hudson River Park Trust has struggled with its financial obligations and is falling further behind each year because it has no solid revenue from residential uses. It gets commercial revenue, but it's very difficult to get a commercial user that the community and the trust can agree upon. And commercial use means loads of people coming in and out of the park, and is much more unfriendly to park users than residential use. I listened to Judy Francis's suggestions, and I thought that some of them were quite good. And I think particularly the idea that all revenue derived from the park, the concessions, permits, and so on, should go to the park. That was promised years ago in the 2001 mayoral campaign, but the promise has not yet been kept. I hope it is. I think you start with the income that derives from the park. But you need much more than that. And that's why you need, in my judgment, the residential parcels, unless someone is going to stake the park to a $300 or $400 million trust fund whose revenues can be used to operate the park. We're in a year where the state has a $9 billion shortage in this year's budget. It will be larger next year. Services are being cut right and left. Employees are being fired. It is highly unlikely that the state, its legislators, will undertake an additional burden of providing an endowment for a brand new public park. When the park was established in the MOU in 2002, it was anticipated that the park would be financially self-sufficient with annual operation and maintenance expenses funded by revenue generated from within the park. That was 8 years ago. Now, in the last 8 years, the state has gotten poorer and the costs have risen. So it's not more conducive now to do that. I wish that Hudson River Park had the kind of revenue generators that you have the possibility to use today. I see that they're back from the river. They don't obstruct views from the park. They're not likely to cause discomfort or inconvenience. I can't think of a more peaceful and harmonious use. Now, here's what happened. When parks were originally set up in the 19th century, they were all vast open land. There was nothing where Central Park is today. The cost was just building the park. There was no one to be displaced. There weren't competing items. In the 20th, and especially in the late 20th century, those wonderful open spaces were filled. Moses did a lot of it, but also building on landfills and vacant land, swamps. Swamps are what wetlands used to be. When they were swamps, they were supposed to be drained. Overnight, they became wetlands and are supposed to be preserved. That's okay. It's like Emperor Constantine in 305. Previously, people were thrown to the lions if they believed in Christ, and subsequently, they were thrown to the lions if they did not believe in Christ. What happened was the emperor converted, and that's sort of what happened to swamps and wetlands. But I'm in favor of the conversion. I want to preserve the wetlands. The ideas that you mentioned that are good should be incorporated, but they don't provide a revenue stream. Oh, I have one more quick.
Sorry, 1 minute.
Historical story to tell. We originally wanted, the city parks department wanted Brooklyn Bridge Park to be governed and supported in the same way as Hudson River Park. which is complete cooperation between the city and state. And in the 20-odd years that Hudson River Park has been in operation, we've never had a fight between the city and the state. And that goes over 4 mayoral terms and 4 governors, if you count the most recent ones. So it's 4 and 4, and there's never been a fight on those issues. And we see no reason why they can't be maintained. Now, we tried, but the state at this time, in I think it was 1993, refused to go along. And they wanted state domination of the project. Mayor Giuliani and I, as Parks Commissioner, refused to go along with that. So what they did is simply wait out Mayor Giuliani. And when there was a new mayor and a new Parks Commissioner who were not familiar with the park situation, they caved to the state. And it took 8 years to get it back from the state. So things have happened which should not have happened.